In the worlds before Monkey, primal chaos reigned. Heaven sought order, but the phoenix can fly only when its feathers are grown. The four worlds formed again and yet again, as endless eons wheeled and passed. Time and the pure essences of heaven, the moisture of the earth, the powers of the sun and the moon, all worked upon a certain rock, old as creation. And it became magically fertile. That first egg was named Thought. Tathagata Buddha, the father Buddha, said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." Elemental forces caused the egg to hatch. From it then came a stone monkey. The nature of monkey was irrepressible.
Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another series review, and this is something that I actually ended up watching through sometime last year, as I also purchased the box set last year, and I really wanted to share, well, my experience with it. And I'll just go to showing the cover of it here, and what you heard at the beginning is actually something that you do actually hear in the actual series. And all credit also goes to the creators of this series, including everything else. I must admit, with Monkey Prince making its appearance through DC Comics, I thought it was sort of time to share something that is also connected to somewhat the Monkey Prince run. And that's why I had in the intro there that you saw the Monkey Prince comic as well as the Blu-ray, so you get a bit of an idea or example as to where the story of the Monkey Prince gets its origins from. Now, this series, which I'm about to cover for you, is an incredible series, especially if you want to learn more about the characters that are connected to Monkey. And in turn, these will also somewhat be, in essence, connected to the Monkey Prince run. So, going from left to right, the characters that you are seeing on the screen, and I'll tell you a little bit about their characters as well. So from the left-hand side, the far left-hand side, we have Pigsy. And yes, he is a bit of a pervert. No doubt about it. He is a bit of a pervert. And you learn that this character was once a heavenly guard of sorts in the story of Monkey, until he was actually sent down to Earth because, being the pervert he was, he wanted to basically get into every girl's bra of sorts. So this series is not for the politically correct. If anything, it's for the politically incorrect in every way, shape, or form. So if you really want something that will really test your triggers, this is the series for you. Now, one good thing about this series is it was actually developed through Japan. So in other words, Japan found something that was connected to Chinese history. And hopefully by the time that you've watched my Monkey Prince review, You will have learned the difference between the Chinese comic, the Japanese, and also the Korean. And I'll be sure to leave a link in the description. I'll be sure to leave a link or a card as well on the video, so you can go back to that review and hear about it. Now, the next character next to Pigsy is Tripitaka. Now, Tripitaka is someone that is a Buddhist monk, and they're sort of seeking enlightenment, and they too also get chosen for the journey. Now, this story is also called The Journey to the West, to which it consists of 4, if not 5, key characters that play a role in it. And it follows the journey of all these 4 characters. Now, the one next to Tripitaka wearing the headband. Now, take note, this headband that is also connected to Tripitaka is something that is given to Tripitaka by like one of the deities from the Chinese heaven to put on the monkey's head and to keep him in control. Now, next to Monkey, we have Sandy, to which Sandy's character reminds me of a Kappa. Just the way he's dressed up, he reminds me a little bit of a Kappa. Even though the Kappa is related more so to Japanese folklore, not so much Chinese. In essence, he sort of like plays the role of a fish-like sea monster or a sea character. So we have like a representation of characters, one that represents the spirituality, the main important part of their journey, which is Tripitaka. Then we have Pigsy, Monkey, and Sandy, who somewhat become like disciples to the character, or students to the character that is also learning what it is like to be enlightened. And this box set has 2 seasons in it. I must admit, out of the seasons, I enjoyed the first season so much more than the second season. And the reason I like it is that it wasn't afraid to go over some certain boundaries or explore going over some certain boundaries. And yes, you do hear certain words that come up in the first season. They do seem to cut down a little bit more on it in the second season, but it makes it a little bit more interesting. Now, when we first meet Monkey, he's on Earth, and it's sort of like after the process of creation that his character has been birthed, and in the process, he ends up meeting with like some of the deities that are connected to the Chinese heaven or the Chinese mythology, and one of those characters, like these are all connected to like Buddhist philosophy, enlightenment, and history. Well, Monkey gets invited to go up in the heaven. He causes a lot of mischief in this heaven, to which eventually ends up getting a hold of a fruit and eating that fruit, and because of that, he gets sent back and also thrown into a rock, to which he'll be left there for a certain amount of time. And so that brings us to what happens next after Monkey. We end up learning that even Sandy too is also connected as like one of the guards that are in this heaven. And through that, he too also gets cast down to Earth. So we have two characters that we know that get cast down to Earth, and a little bit later on, we also meet the character. Also, as well, we get the character of the dragon, which will also play a part in the future. In like the first season, they play more of a role in the second season than the first. But the character's key role in the first season is that they practically become a horse. And this dragon, when they first encounter this dragon, they eat up Tripitaka's horse, and now they've got nowhere that they can go. So, because of Monkey being sent to speak to the dragon, explains what he's done, and okay, the dragon now has to make amends, and he makes amends by turning into the horse. So, in essence, it becomes like something that's sort of taught in the series, like a form of reincarnation. And you can see that aspect being taught in this. And this journey consists of so many episodes. Now, some of the episodes, or some of the episode ideas, do somewhat repeat, but you also get ones that that don't quite repeat. And of course, you have clownery from like some of the characters, and also some meta type moments too in the story. And that's just with the first season, and it does somewhat carry over into the second. Now, when we finally reach like the path where they are now ordered to make their journey to the west, to which they must now seek enlightenment from the Buddha. But along the way and along the journey, these characters are also learning moral lessons. This continues like all the way through the first season as well as the second. And with it doing in such a way, my goodness, a lot really happens. And you meet characters that have been like done wrong to and have injustices done to them. You meet characters such as demons in the series. That's right, you do meet characters that are demons. There is one that actually involves a bit of a gourd, which in the very first issue of Monkey King, we also see a gourd to which harbors something. But in this one, we have a gourd to which sucks up something. So in some essence, becomes like a bit of a vacuum cleaner, even though it's not. And it takes characters into the gourd, and it eventually leads to the death of the characters. And yes, you do see death in this series. Not only in the first season, but you also see it in the second. Now, by the time we move into the second season, the horse starts to get a little bit of limelight. But I want to take note and bring this up to the forefront is that by the time we reach the second season, there has been a bit of a retcon as to how the first season ended. And in this, we have Pigsy trying to head back and sort of like get a big reward, and he's still thinking of girls, having lots of lovely women around him, and sort of like using a fake set of scrolls to try to get these girls that he really loves, because this is his character. He's a pervert. But with Tripitaka, you do actually see this character learn and grow in spiritual aspects, but you also see the character also learn when they fall to temptation. That's right. Tripitaka also falls in the area of temptation in a number of episodes. I'm not going to give all of the episodes, but a number of the episodes. Then you have Sandy, to which we actually get some things which we learn about his character, to even about his character's family, especially here on Earth. And then eventually at the beginning of the series, you do learn about the Monkey King himself, being Monkey, and in regards to that, what it's like to be in his kingdom. You see that at the beginning, sort of like when he's also learned every form of magic under the sun, as it also indicates in the actual song. Yes, this character does learn these things. Then we have, by the time he gets to the second season, and when he gets to the second season and you see him return sort of like to his Monkey King cave, things are different. He doesn't have the headband anymore, like the one that he's had to be used to in the first season, and now he's sort of like trying to find something to take its place. And as things move forward, yes, they do eventually reunite together, and it takes place in sort of like the first couple of episodes. The story continues. It reuses a lot of the same formula once again from the previous season, but this time it includes things having to do with the character of Horse, to which we have a new actor taking up the role of Horse. And and seeing him in his human form, well, yes, he is smart, but in some parts you can also see the character's naivety. And with this character's naivety, you can see that he's sort of like learning what it's like to be in somewhat the human body, and also how to help others out. And in that, it's a really good learning experience for that character and how that character develops growth. Now, as we reach towards the end of the season, do they eventually make it to the West? Well, in this story of the journey to the West on Monkey, it leaves it very open. In other words, it leaves this series open to be continued on by other people. And it's really nice to see that in a story like this. For the graphics of its time, for the humor of its time, and yes, would you say passionate behavior? Yeah, it definitely had passion. On top of that, this series also came out the year I was born, so it also makes sense as to understand why I also enjoy these seasons of Monkey, because the year it came out was 1978, also the year I was born. And having to watch through this series again, like the last time I remember watching the Monkey series, or this particular Monkey series, was when I was a little bit younger, and I believe it was showing on Channel 2 here in Australia before Channel 2 went all digital crazy here. And I loved coming home and like watching these episodes, because it was so much fun, and seeing this mischievous monkey, also called Sun Wukong, or seen as Sun Wukong, getting into mischief. And yes, the character does get into mischief, and he also uses his mischief in a way to overcome certain opponents, like in ways that his opponents don't expect him to overcome. And you do get to see that in a number of episodes. You also get to see how the other characters fall to even their own temptations. Same goes with Pigsy. He ends up meeting like a couple of women along the way that he just really, really wants to marry and give up the vow of celibacy. Then we have Sandy, to which, of course, he has met a fair couple of women himself, but he's a little bit more modest in his approach. With Tripitaka, yes, Tripitaka is a male, even though I believe in this series that they might have actually used a female actress. But you know what? They played a brilliant role for what they did, and it was awesome. So for the first season, I am going to give it an 8 out of 10. Graphics, soundtrack, definitely enjoyed. The second season, I'm going to give a 7.5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colorful and have yourself an